What's up, Doombots? Tony Scungili here with your preparation on who to play in Marvel Future Revolution. So you can call it a tier list, you can call it a ranking list, you can call it whatever you want. There's not going to be any gameplay footage in this video. This is just going to be me telling you who to pick and what you'll get for picking them. And these are actually in order. Now, if you've been watching me for the last, 3 months or so of play, you've seen I've leveled and re-leveled every character in this game at least once. Some of them harder than others. So here's the tier list, right? We're going to start from number 1 because they're not some stupid countdown list thing. It's Black Widow. Why is Black Widow one of the best characters in the game? It's really simple. Black Widow takes absolutely no effort to make great. So when you're starting the game, as you power yourself up through the game, as you're experiencing and learning the game, you're going to have a lot of PvE and PvE content. Player versus player, player versus environment. Black Widow excels at all of these, and Black Widow scales way better than every other character. Scaling, what does that mean? That means that the amount of effort you put in to make your Black Widow stronger is less. You don't have to do as much to make her insane. Truly, you just have to put crit into her in the early game as you're putting gear and everything. What type of gear does she take? Doesn't matter. What's her best specialization? Not really important. One of the beautiful things about this character is she's kind of brain dead. So why would you start playing a brain dead character even though you really don't like them? That's incredibly simple. The more brain dead a character you play, the easier you can accrue rewards and resources that you can then use to build out other characters. For anybody who's ever played a game like Diablo, Path of Exile, even World of Warcraft, you will know that MMOs play a little bit differently than hero collectors. This is not a hero collector. If you start with her, you will have a great farm that you can then use to put gear and other pieces, regardless of what type of gear, onto other characters that you want to experience. It's called a starter build. She is the best starting character because what she can do is better than anybody else with the amount of effort you have to put in. Moving to number 2. So we'll say she's number 1 with a bullet, right? Haha, pun. Number 2 is Spider-Man. There's a little bit of a difference. Spider-Man isn't as mindless as Black Widow, but he can be easily. Through specialization and gearing for dodge, Spider-Man becomes one of the most heinous PvP threats. And anytime someone's good in PvP, it usually translates somewhat to PvE, mainly because PvE, fighting bosses in this game, at least as of right now, is just how much damage can you do as quickly as you can. If that's the situation you find yourself in, if you're just trying to do as much damage as you possibly can, Spider-Man does pretty decent damage without a specific type of gear set. And as you spec exactly one stat into dodge, and as you build more dodge and find more of his abilities that convert dodge into damage, he becomes a monster, basically an unkillable monster machine. Whether or not he gets balanced in the future and he becomes less of a tank, it doesn't change the fact that early in the game, when you start this game, characters like Spider-Man and Widow are far beyond what the comparable rest of the team looks like. They don't need much work to become good, and once they're good, they just need to be upkept. Not like, oh, I've spent $500, now I have to spend another $5. It doesn't work that way with these characters. They're great characters to play as. We'll do individual breakdowns of all of them, but if you're looking, how do I start on day 1? It's one of these 2 characters because they will help you get enough resources to build up whichever character you actually want. Now we're going to move to the middle of the line. These are in a rough order. A lot of this is based on both my personal gameplay and playing with other people, other content creators, and figuring out where we all stand. Number 3, or the beginning of the average tier, and that's not a bad thing, is Iron Man. Iron Man is not an amazing character as you get him, but he's very fun to play. And as you build him over time, Iron Man has one of the highest ceilings. If you're unfamiliar with that, it means that when you have the most possible gear and investment, you build him correctly, he's pretty much unbeatable. He makes, at max investment, all your pieces are absolutely perfect or close to. He makes all the other characters look silly. The problem is, not many people understand that getting a character to that level is just as hard as it would be in a game like Diablo, in a game like World of Warcraft. It's going to take time, effort, or, since this is a mobile game, money. And unless you're willing to make those sacrifices of time, effort, or money, you're not really going to get to the point where the character is going to be absolutely insane. That said, he's totally reasonable for all the content in the game. You know, everything is comparative. You have the best characters and the worst characters. They're compared to each other, not to some made-up thing that doesn't exist. If Widow and Spider-Man are among the best because of where how quickly they become good, these characters, specifically starting with Iron Man, they're more great within the confines of how they level. Your Iron Man, your Doctor Strange, Storm, and Captain America, Captain Marvel, they're all going to just be good. You're going to experience, you're going to feel power, you're going to feel like you're doing well, and then every piece of gear you get is going to make them feel just a little bit stronger. Iron Man is a ranged, melee character. You're going to get the most of his value out of his ranged kits. He's going to be pretty dependent on things like crit and accuracy and making sure that his attacks hit when they do, because they hit for a lot. Maybe some hit rate too to get rid of some of those dodge problems you might run into. But ultimately, those are just stats. If you start with Iron Man because you like him, you're not going to be worse off than anybody else in the game. You're going to be average. And then depending on how much time you put in, how much effort or money, you'll kind of come across. Now, there's still going to be Widows and Spider-Man who are going to do the same amount of work and get a little bit further than you. That's just how the characters are balanced. If they try to balance them anymore, we might see. But remember, new characters are always going to come out in the future, so see how that goes. Same kind of conversation goes to Doctor Strange, but Doctor Strange really shines in PvE more so than some of the other characters. In PvP, he's not bad. He's really good at AoE damage. They nerfed him a couple times in the early stages, and he's okay. But you're not going to have a problem running through the game with Doctor Strange. Later on, he's going to be probably one of the better PvE characters, especially as you get into game modes like Dark Zone, where there's PvE with a little bit of PvP, or it's a whole bunch of things you have to deal with, as opposed to just raids where you just slap one boss a little bit. Doctor Strange does great AoE damage. His actual damage is not among the best, but it's, again, average. And it takes a lot of gear to kind of get him to break out through those lines. The other thing is, in PvP, he does lack a little bit more, because you have so many different types of builds for him. He has one ability that literally does 4 different things. All abilities do 4 separate things. He has one ability that does 4 completely different things, and how you build him changes everything. So he's a little bit more of a harder to build character to get like great. But if you're just looking to play through the game and have fun, you're gonna have total problem with Doctor Strange. Here's Storm. Storm was the character I started with. I think she is like dead center, the most average character. She is as many steps away from Black Widow as she is from the bottom of the list. She's really good at AoE and direct target, but not both at the same time. It actually is kind of difficult to build her in a way where she's going to be able to both take down a boss and the little mobs around them. She has some unique builds. She's one of the few characters that you really have to dig into her spec tree to get anything out of her. She has some weird abilities and debuffs. But again, like Doctor Strange, as far as content's concerned, if you're starting with Storm, you're not going to have an issue with anything. She's a little squishy, so you might get a little bit used to dodging. But other than that, you shouldn't have any real issues with Storm as you power up. But again, similar as Doctor Strange. Then we have Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's got hit by a couple nerf hammers. She's a little bit of a strange play. At higher investment, she's one of the better characters in the game, even with some nerfs she's taken. But again, compared to not just Widow and Spider-Man, but some of the others, takes a little bit more to get her going. She needs a little bit more of a decent type of investment. You're going to feel a little bit strong at the beginning of the game, and then it's going to fall off a little bit as you are losing out on some of her crit or some of her defense pierce. These are all stats that we've gone on in other videos. She's good, though. Like, she's not a bad character. You'll have fun playing her. She was one of my favorite characters to level. As you can see, I have a whole bunch of characters at different levels because I re-level characters for reasons another video will cover. But ultimately, your mileage may vary with what you're looking for. She's not one I would probably start with, but I would definitely look to build her as a secondary or to focus on something, whether that something be PvE content or boss killing, that kind of thing. And then we have the bottom tier of characters. These Again, this is all comparative. We're not talking about how good a character is in a vacuum. We're talking about how good they are compared to other stuff. We have Star-Lord. Star-Lord is a character who I've only re-leveled once and then just had no interest in re-leveling him anymore. The main reason why is he just doesn't feel... Once you've played another character, you'll know immediately what I'm about to say. He doesn't really do anything amazingly. He does a lot of stuff that's fun. He has a lot of cool ads and features that he contributes to your gameplay, but there's nothing in particular that he does that makes him through the roof insane. He's not particularly good in late game anything. In early game, and by early game I mean after you've hit level 100, you can build Star-Lord in a way that will take advantage of other people, very similar to how Black Widow works. The problem is that is a very short window of time, and after that period of time, the Black Widows, the Spider-Mans, and then, of course, all the rest of these characters are going to have their number. It's come to the point now where I could fight significantly stronger Star-Lords. Now, my Star-Lord's only 300k, but for the sake of the argument, I could fight maybe 700k Star-Lord and not get completely destroyed, where most characters that much of a separation of power would be a huge difference. So he has a cool kit. He's very fun to play. As far as PvE is concerned, he's not terrible, but it's very hard to kind of control him. He throws himself around a lot with his attacks, so you don't know where he's going to land, which makes him actually a little bit better in PvP stuff because it's hard for people to kind of keep track of where you are, especially in like Omega War or massive fights. But he just kind of is a little bit lackluster as far as doing what other characters can do with significantly less investment. Which leads us finally to the last character, at least at this point in the game, and we'll do these monthly as they release new characters. It's Captain America. Now, what you're going to see here is that my Captain America is level 1 because I just don't ever want to level him again. It's just too much of a headache. I did it once, wasn't happy with it. So Captain America is the kind of character that I generally play in these types of games. He is a tanky character. He has buffs for his team. All of these things are great if this game was a team game. This game is a single-player game with some degree of teamwork. Now, you might fight against other people, but realistically, very few of it is actual teamwork. You can make things teamwork by going in with people. That doesn't mean it's teamwork. Blitz, or the dungeon crawl in this game, it scales to the number of people in, so you can solo it or play with a team. Captain America solo is probably one of the best tanks in the game, but one of the worst damage dealers in the game. You're not going to experience... He doesn't have any movement speed. He can jump a little bit. He can't fly. He doesn't have much range. He can throw his shield sometimes. His damage doesn't really overcome that. He has a lot of tank stuff. There's not many needs for a tank. There's a lot of times when a Captain America on my team will make me less likely to die, which is phenomenal because I'm the one doing damage while he's running around on the floor. The bad news is Captain America just doesn't kind of work out. Like he doesn't even out for what the rest of the characters. He's kind of without an identity right now. So if you want to play hard mode, or if you want to spend a ton of money in this game, both of these are options. This is your guy, because when you see really strong Captain Americas, it's never because someone had stick-to-itiveness and gumption. It's because they had an American Express card and the need to make him good. He takes too much to make viable for any of the content that currently exists in the game. He is, at the very best, the last thing you should work on. It's not even like most games where, like, hey, he'll fill out the party. Trust me on this. There is no party of 4 that would be better with Captain America than without some additional damage dealer. And since you can use the same character in teams, you can have 4 Storms or like 2 Widows and 2 Spider-Man. There's no need to worry about having Captain America just to fill the hole that somebody might need. It's not like World of Warcraft where, oh, I'm a tank though, someone will come by. He has a lot of cool abilities. He is a very, very chore-like effort to level, to build, and at every stage of leveling, what you're going to experience with Captain America, regardless of how much you're spending both in time and effort, somebody spending the same amount as you is going to surpass you, and some people not spending anything or significantly less than you are also going to surpass you. So if you have the opportunity to, unless some major rework happens in the next 48 hours, just save him for last. That's pretty much it as far as a tier list. So again, just to remind you guys, if given the opportunity, if you want to play this game and you want to succeed as early as you can so you can succeed as long as you play, characters like Black Widow or Spider-Man, mainly Black Widow, are going to do an absolutely huge service to you as a player. If you've ever played Path of Exile, you know what it's like to build a starting or budget build. That's how Black Widow goes. And in addition, if you're willing to spend money in the game, spending it into Black Widow just makes her stronger, so you don't have to spend as much money on your other characters later. Same thing goes for Spider-Man. You could, if you're spending money, you're going to be able to get better pieces on him and make him insane earlier, but not quite the same. So it's Widow number 1 with a bullet, Spider-Man close second, a little bit better later than earlier. The middle 4 characters are like interchangeable. Whichever one you like, play. I like Storm and Iron Man. Those are the characters I've been playing the most of. Your mileage may vary. And then we have Star-Lord, who's just a little bit behind everybody in value. Maybe a rework is coming to him at the best. I can't imagine him becoming God tier, but maybe a more fair interpretation of what the other characters would be. Again, it's really about that start. He has a really slow start. And then, of course, the last and certainly least character is Captain America. So hopefully this helped you make your decision. Stop by my Twitch stream, see what I'm doing, see how I'm building characters, and pay like and subscribe the video if you are interested in seeing different types of builds for different types of characters and what to focus on over the next couple of days, because the game's going live. Have a good night, guys. Have a great day. I've been Tony Scungili, and I will catch you later.